Okay, I have got a couple questions asked of me, so I thought I'd make this little video. Someone asked me where I got the tubing to replace a black plastic tube on my NT700 fuel filter assembly, or fuel pump assembly. And what I used was, this stuff is getting hard to find. This is gas line. It's vinyl fuel line, the tubing. Now, I could not find this stuff in auto parts stores around here because everything today is pretty much fuel injected. So while I was at Home Depot in the plumbing section, I spotted these coils of this fuel line, 10 feet, and the SKU number on this, if you can see that, is well, there's the picture. I don't know if you can read it. 702. That's too small for me. Anyway, this is 3/8 outside diameter, 1/4 inch inside diameter, and it says on there that it's rated, there's 3/8 OD, 1/4 inch inside diameter. And this is 10 foot of clear vinyl, and it's rated at 55 psi at 70 degrees. So this was $5 at Home Depot for 10 feet. Now this is what we used on motorcycles up until they were fuel injected, which has a higher pressure, I suppose, on the fuel rails of fuel injected machines. But the gravity fed carburetors, this is what we used, and for lawn mowers and weed whackers and things like that. But that's where you can get this, at Home Depot. $10 for 10 feet. Okay, what else do I have here? I dropped a screw while changing the inside the fuel tank fuel filter on my Moto Guzzi Norge. And I did the air filter change at the same time. And I dropped one of the air filter screws down between the cylinders, which have it's an air-cooled engine, and it has deep fins, and I could not see where that screw went. So this is a handy thing to have, is a small mirror, and this is how I found it, because a magnet, it was made of stainless, and a magnet would not pick it up. So without this mirror, I don't know what I would have done. Probably come up with something else, but this made it easy because I was able to see where the screw was inside in the fins, down in the V of the engine. Okay, where is it? This is a piece of silver solder I've had for years. You can make the ball end of a cable. If your cable pulls out of the ball end, or you need to shorten a cable, you can only use silver solder. You can't use lead or other solder, because the cable will end up pulling out of the lead or whatever solder that you try to make a ball end with, except silver solder. I had to shorten a couple new throttle cables I bought for my Moto Guzzi SP1000, and I made the ball ends out of silver solder, and they worked fine. Okay, go into an auto parts store and try to buy a fuse. They'll have them, but for one fuse, for a pack of, they won't sell you one fuse. you're going to go in there and they're going to want to sell you a little plastic bag with 3 or 4 fuses in it, and it's going to be at least $5. Okay? This pack of fuses I bought on eBay, ranging from 5 amps up to 50 amps. And I think I got 6 of each fuse. I think there's 50 fuses in here. And this was $5 free shipping on eBay. So don't wait until you blow a fuse. I put spare fuses in all my toolkits in all my vehicles just in case. So that's what you want to do, is buy them before you need them. It's $5. These types of electric air pumps have a weakness. Inside these plugs to plug into your, I call it a cigarette lighter socket. My deer are here. That's a baby right there. Hi baby, come on over. Wait till I'm done. And these have a fuse in them. Let's take this one apart. Usually, yep, there goes the springs. But there's the fuse. Okay? What you want to do is take this fuse out and wrap it with one wrap of aluminum foil. Why would you want to do that? That's because these don't really have the greatest fit. This style here is okay, but they don't generally have the greatest squeeze fit, a good connection, and that is what is known as a point of high resistance, and it ends up blowing the fuse. So what you want to do is wrap the fuse with aluminum foil to prevent it from blowing. The circuit you're plugged into in your car or on your motorcycle is already fused, so it's not going to hurt the wiring on your vehicle if you wrap aluminum foil around this. That aluminum foil, that fuse, is just to protect this wire. But it's less strain on the wire if you don't have a point of high resistance. And you avoid that by wrapping it with aluminum foil, because then it will have a better connection. I'm talking about these kind of fuses too. That's what I do. Okay. I've had this can of rustoleum aluminum paint since 1974. There was a bulletin from Honda in Japan when I was a Honda motorcycle dealer mechanic. What they said was to get a can of rustoleum aluminum paint, just like this one, and don't stir or shake it. When you're doing a head gasket or a base gasket or a valve cover gasket or a side cover gasket that's paper, it's not a special material, it's just paper. Okay, you want to open this can without shaking it and get yourself a screwdriver or something and go to the bottom and get that gooey thick stuff at the bottom, and you want to work that in to a dry paper gasket when it's new, because when you took something apart, you probably had the gasket split and you had to scrape both surfaces to get the paper gasket completely off, which is a pain. That's the hardest part of many jobs, is removing the gasket. Okay, so when you go and get it clean and then you're about to put the new gasket on, as you're putting it back together, you coat the gasket on both sides with rustoleum aluminum paint, the goo from the bottom of the can, and you put it on wet. That gasket will never stick. It won't leak, and any excess paint that you get in the system is not going to hurt anything. That was a bulletin from Honda. When I was the 350 Honda, I got all the 350 Honda twins to do the warranty work because they were camshaft eaters. And Honda actually advised all dealerships to stock 7 camshaft top-end kits for every 10 motorcycles they sold. And I was doing them. Sometimes I'd go to work and that's all I would do. I could do 3 of those in a day. And I was a flat rate mechanic, and that was fine with me. Because it became easy when you do one after the other. But anyway, I have been doing all my dry paper gaskets, valve cover gaskets, base gaskets, side cover gaskets, whatever, out of any machine. I've been doing it, coating the gaskets with this, especially like my Moto Guzzi's, the valve cover gaskets. You have to adjust the valves on Moto Guzzi's. I've had 4 of them. You have to do them around every 2,000 to 3,000 miles. You have to check them. And every time I have put a treated with aluminum paint gasket on, it never stuck. I never had to buy another gasket. These are shims for adjusting the valves on. These are Kawasaki and Yamaha, like the Yamaha Royal Star Ventures. I'm not sure if the FJ, I had an FJ 1200 years ago. I never had to adjust any of the valves on it. I don't know if these are the same shims. I know that these work on VMAXs. They're interchangeable is what I'm saying, okay? And here is a tool. And here is another tool for removing the valve shims whenever you need to change them. So what you would do is you would rotate your crankshaft after you pull all the spark plugs, so it will rotate over with a wrench or a socket, and you would bring the camshaft so that it's pushing down on the lifter. Then you attach this to the engine and just catch the very end of the lifter, allowing you to get the shim out using a pick. You know, like a small pointy ice pick and a magnet. Okay, and then when you get the shim out, you'll notice it has writing on it. Like this one, the number is 260. That's the thickness. Now, I have a couple shims here. Yeah, this one here. This is for a Suzuki. This was for my Suzuki V-Strom 1000. They're bigger. Okay, the difference besides the size and thickness of these two shims is somebody put this shim in and they put it in with the numbers facing the camshaft. See, this one has the 260 on it. When you put this back into the slot, the space on top of the lifter, on top of the shim bucket that goes over the valve spring, you want to put the numbers facing up. Or no, you want to put them facing down so that the camshaft won't rub the numbers off. That's what happened to this one. You can't read the numbers anymore because somebody put it in upside down. They put it with the numbers facing the cam. But anyways, such as on a Venture, you would rotate the crankshaft with a socket wrench or whatever you can get in there on the end of the crankshaft. And when you compress the lifter with the cam, then you clamp this on to the engine, and they're made to fit right there where the or the bucket that this fits in top, the shim fits in top of, it just catches the end of it without touching the shim. It's out here on the edge, and then you can get the shim out. And a lot of times if you need a thicker or a thinner shim, if you always want to keep a record of which cylinders have which valves have which shim numbers in them when you pull them out. And sometimes, well, this one was a little loose, and the one I have in this one over here is a little tight, you know, and I can juggle them, because this one over here needs a 270 and this one over here has a 270, but this one over here needs a 260 and this one has a 260, so you can sometimes interchange them. But anyway, there's some shims. I think they work on the old 900 Kawasaki's from 1973 up, the air-cooled 4-cylinder 900 and 1000 Kawasaki's, and the Ventures, and I don't know all the Yamahas they fit, but it was pretty smart of them to make them all the same interchangeable size, except for Suzuki that has a slightly larger shim, as you can see. And here's another style tool that you put in there, and I'm not sure, it's been a while since I've had to adjust valves. I think now this slot here goes to where one of the screws that hold the valve covers down, I think. I forget what bike this is for, but these two edges here go in when you rotate the cam to hold the valves down, and then you put this on and tighten the screw, and that holds those two, if it's a 4-valve per cylinder, holds those two, I'll call them lifters, but it's the buckets that the shims fit on top of. Holds them down, then you rotate the crankshaft so that you get the lobe to go away, and then you can get the shim out. It's really not that difficult if you have the tool and a feeler gauge. So that's enough for now. Oh, Darla, she's talking to the deer. They're here to be fed. Anyway, I just thought that I would put on a video mainly about this. Oh, there's one other thing I have here. What do you want? Fed again. Oh, here comes the turkeys. I better make this a short one. This is a magnet on a piece of metal wire, tubing, whatever you want to call it, with a magnet on the end. Okay, what I like about this one is you can bend it into whatever shape you need to contort it to get down in somewhere. Maybe wrap it around something to get something you've dropped. This is a must-have. It's a flexible, bendable, pliable magnet. It's a must-have, especially if you have the dropsies. Anyway, I got to feed the deer and the turkeys. Okay, guys, I'll be right with you. That's all for now. I'll see you there.